my wonderful queer viewers, or otherwise, and welcome back to the anticipated return of Seasonal Gay Anime Spotlight, the show where I look at the queer characters of each season of anime and talk about them as they are in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the winter season. Yada yada, introductions, let's get into it. Let's start off with our first segment, Rewind to Gay. The part of the show where I talk about returning seasons of shows that feature queer characters and talk about what might happen to them in this current season. Let's start off with a quick one of the future of Ymir and Astoria in the final season of Attack on Titan. Well, this last season started in December back in the fall season, only like 4 episodes aired in it, so yeah, winter season. Anyway, even though I praised the queer representation and the couple of Ymir and Astoria in the anime in the past, especially in the second season, their treatment of the characters in this part of the story is rather underwhelming.
If anyone had any other doubts, we get full confirmation that Ymir is officially dead, having been eaten by Gilliard to become the Jaw Titan. So that's it for her.
And as for Astoria's current treatment, well, I'm watching the dub of the anime as it airs on Toonami, which is behind the sub, so I don't exactly know where the currently airing anime is right now, but as someone who's read the manga without spoiling anything, well, let's just say that Astoria's treatment is... And now let's talk about the queer characters in this current season of anime, starting with Soraho and Toroko from Overside Picnic. I've actually been anticipating this anime because it seems like a non-queer centric anime that still has 2 queer main leads. It's rare for that to happen in anime, with the first example coming to mind being number 6. It gives the genre of anime some variety, and I always like to see that.
Without getting into the confusing technicals of the anime sci-fi elements, though it is Soro at this point, it's clear that Soroo has feelings for Toroko. She blushes around her when they are close and is jealous when she hears about an ex-partner that Toroko had named Satsuki. Soroo seemed like a lonely, depressed college student before Toroko showed up and brightened her world, which is really cute. And from what I've heard from the grapevine, these feelings will stop being subtle and become explicit, which will be exciting to see. As for Toroko, it's unknown currently how she feels about Soroo, most because her mind is still on her previously mentioned ex-partner. And there may have been something between Toroko and Natsuki, but to what degree we don't know yet. Though Toroko does refer to Satsuki as her special someone.
The queer elements in Other Side Picnic are shaping up to evolve as the anime goes on, and we'll have to see how far they go with the possible relationship between Soroo and Toroko. Next up is Katya/Kanata Osama from So I'm a Spider, So What? Great title, by the way.
So here's the basic setup. So for reasons that we aren't aware of yet, a class of high schoolers and their teacher died due to a mysterious explosion of light and got, well, you know, isekai. Did I just say isekai as a verb? The anime follows our main protagonist, an unnamed student, as a spider. And while that's fun and all, in this video we're going to focus on Katya. See, the thing about her is that despite, in this world, being the daughter of a duke's household, Katya, along with the others, have memories of their previous life, and Katya's previous life is of that of a male student named Kanata. Katya doesn't seem too fazed about being reincarnated as a girl, though we do pick up on her in media res, which is a shame, because that's something I would have loved to see. Who knows, maybe they'll flash back to it at some point. But she does get annoyed when someone makes fun of her for being a girl now.
Now you may be wondering why I'm using she, her pronouns when talking about this character. Well, from what I've heard through the grapevine, apparently there will be some queer elements applied to Katya later on, which might turn into something interesting, so I suppose we'll just have to see. And lastly is Kanamori, or Venus if you're more familiar with the originally English translated manga, from Heaven's Design Team. Okay, so this is going to take some explaining.
Let's break this down into pieces. Kanamori is a female character because of how she addresses herself and how others refer to her, using Japanese she, her pronouns. However, their design has a long face, broad shoulders, and a flat chest, not to mention that she's voiced by a male voice actor. This leads me to believe, through these context clues alone, because the anime never addresses it, that Kanamori is a transgender woman.
And if I am correct in saying this, then this is fucking awesome. Kanamori is a transgender woman, with the anime making no reference to it.
All the other characters treat Kanamori like a woman, because she is a woman. No questions asked. Don't get me wrong, I love it when a character is announced as transgender, and labeling a character can be important to most people. But it's also kind of nice to just have a transgender character not to be referred to as such.
Kanamori is just a part of the gang, while also happening to be transgender. And it's nice to see the other characters respect her as such. Now let's move on to our next segment, recap of last season. The part of the show where I look at the queer anime of last season and talk about whether there are characters in it nicely or badly. But that does mean that there are spoilers ahead. You've been warned. First, let's talk about Macy from Burn the Witch. In case you didn't know, Burn the Witch is the short manga series created by Tati Kubo, who also made Bleach, with Burn the Witch actually taking place in the Bleach universe. And despite its many problems, I still have a soft spot for the shonen series. But one thing that Kubo could never get down was writing good representation of queer characters. Whether it was Charlotte's over-the-top flamboyancy, or Chizuru's predatory lesbian acts towards Orihime, Kubo don't write queer characters that good. The same can be said for Macy in Burn the Witch.
She was in a band with main character Nini until Macy left the band for dragon-related reasons. It's complicated. But the only reason Macy stuck with the band was because she's infatuated with Nini, and still currently is after the two reunited because of dragon-related reasons. Kubo's stereotypical writing comes in again, as when witnessing Noelle and Nini's closeness, Macy becomes enraged and attempts to throw a desk at Noelle. Ah yes, there's that predatory lesbian writing. I will admit though that Macy is the emotional crux of the short series, with her relationship with the dragon Cinderella. The short series ends with Noelle and Nini saving Macy from Bruno and an enraged Cinderella, with Macy becoming a dragon-clad like Balgo. Again, it's complicated.
Kubo is making another short series out of Burn the Witch, and when Macy's sticking around with the rest of the cast, we'll see if he stops with Macy's predatory behavior or just continue with it for the sake of comedy. And unfortunately, knowing Kubo, I'll have to go with the latter. Next up is the majority of characters, I guess, from Assault Lily Bouquet. Okay, so Assault Lily Bouquet is a messy anime with no clear focus, and it's just here to sell us action figures. The anime and direction is really good. I mean, of course it is Studio Shaft, but the anime as a whole is a mess. So much so that I got tired of it super quickly and skipped through a lot of it. So when talking about the queer characters of this anime, I'll also skip through them quickly. The biggest problem with the anime in general in terms of its queer characters is that it is 100% Yuri bait. Everything is subtle and nothing is explicit unless it's meant to tease us with the Yuri. Especially since one of the aspects of the anime is an upperclassman taking an underclassman as their sort of partner/apprentice of sorts, where their bond is super close and they work well together in combat, with the underclassmen calling the upperclassmen their older sister. And because the anime uses language like this, it sort of equates the bond between girls and the bonds between sisters, which, you know, is not the same thing, but again, this is pure Yuri bait. So let's go over the characters that may or may not be queer.
Riri becomes partners with upperclassman Yu Yu and calls her big sister. Riri does everything she can for Yu Yu, and Yu Yu in return tries to get over her angsty backstory in order to become a good big sister to Riri. This backstory is that Yu Yu blames herself for the death of her old partner, her old big sister, Mizuru. But eventually she gets over it. Also, Riri takes care of this amnesiac girl, and the school decides to call her Yuri because it's the ship name of Yu Yu and Riri.
Ha ha ha, fuck off.
Kuo and Wong are often paired up, as Kuo helps Wong be less quiet and emotionally distant. And in case you're wondering, this image shown in the ending theme is a complete and utter lie. Miriam ends up becoming partners with Moyu, and it's shown like a wedding ceremony because fucking whatever. I swear to Christ the team of Alfim is in one big poly relationship, but I did not care enough to pay attention. But the character I did pay attention to and actually give a shit about, because she's all that matters, is Kaede. Well, at first wanting to become Yu Yu's partner, after Riri saves her from the enemy, Kaede becomes infatuated with her, always wanting to spend time with her and is always concerned with her well-being. She's always jealous at Yu Yu for becoming partners with Riri, but as long as Riri is happy, then that's good enough for Kaede.
Okay, that's it. I finished watching Assault Lily Bouquet, so I don't have to talk about this boring-ass anime anymore. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Next up is Brittany from the Gymnastics Samurai.
Brittany is a very minor character in the anime, and is, once again like last year, a flamboyant gay man who wears lots of makeup and likes to touch men's butts without their consent. Oh boy, didn't get enough of that already in last year's Wave Listen to Me. Though to the anime's credit, Brittany only does this once to Leo, but still, one time is already too many times. Brittany is an acupuncturist who treats Jotaro and helps with his shoulder injury.
Other than that, he shows up to watch Jotaro's competitions with the other characters and provides help when he can. That's all. Let's stop with these stereotypical gay men in anime, please. Next up is Elena, Seiya, and Mina from Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elena. Okay, so I could go on for hours about how fascinating of an anime this is and how it starts off as excellent, then starts to get weird, then gets bad, then gets hilariously bad, and then becomes one hell of a dumpster fire. But I've got to talk about Adachi and Tsuma more later on in this video, so let's talk about the queer characters in this anime, and how they are also one hell of a dumpster fire.
Starting off with Seiya, she is an apprentice witch who manipulates Elena to teach her magic to become a full-fledged witch. In the process, the two bond and Seiya starts to have feelings for Elena. The two meet up in a couple of episodes where Seiya makes some extreme advances and declarations of love towards Elena, who continues to be displeased by it, really having no interest in Seiya. But boy, if Seiya isn't going to annoyingly keep on trying, giving her a matching necklace that she also has. There's also this weird episode where Elena and Seiya end up switching bodies, and Seiya ends up spending a third of the anime staring at herself and Elena's body in the window. I half expected the anime to have Seiya make out with herself in the window. I would not put it past the show. And at the end of the episode, when taken away by her boss, Seiya throws a fit like a child, saying that she doesn't want to go but stay by Elena's side forever.
While Seiya doesn't completely fit into the predatory lesbian trope, she kinda gets there, and it's more in how annoying she is. All she cares about is Elena, and Elena is clearly bothered by this. But wait, it gets worse.
Let's talk about Seiya's sister Mina, who is talked about in the second episode, but only shows up physically in the 11th episode. Well, at first it seems like Mina doesn't like her sister at all and finds her annoying and incompetent, when a love potion gas is spread throughout the town which causes people to confess their love for the person that they see, and hey, what do you know, Mina is right in front of her sister Seiya, who is Elena currently, because, again, body swapping. So we get this super uncomfortable scene where Mina continues to confess her love while almost kissing Elena in Seiya's body. But even after the effects of the love potion are gone, we learn that Mina's feelings for her sister are genuine, and she hates Elena for being the source of Seiya's affection.
Great, fantastic, some gay incest, why not? But wait, it gets worse!
For a fucking weird episode 4 finale, Elena visits this fantasy world where she encounters 16 different versions of herself. One of these versions is an Elena that loves girls and Yuri, though is only in love with the different versions of herself. And given how much of a narcissist Elena is, that makes sense. Another version of her is an Elena who is a maiden deeply in love, and who is the source of this Elena's affection? Why, it's Seiya. Which at first seems a bit weird since our Elena does not like Seiya's affection, but she did continue to wear the matching heart necklace that Seiya gave her, so that's something, I guess. And, okay, I'm sure I'm really overthinking this, but by the end, our Elena makes peace with the violent Elena who was actually affected by all the horrible stuff our Elena went through, but, you know, with actual consequences. But this encounter ends up with the two of them in bed, holding hands and gazing lovingly into each other's eyes. Did the anime end with the protagonist sleeping with themselves? Well, again, I wouldn't put it past the anime, and given how much, again, of a narcissist Elena is, I feel like the only person that she would allow to sleep with her is herself.
Okay, so Wandering Witch: The Journey of Elena is a bizarre anime that just gets worse and worse as it goes on, and you could apply the same thing with its queer representation. There was also this BL movie that came out, I think, called Twittering, Birds Never Fly, The Clouds Gather. It's about a sexually masochistic Yakuza boss who is interested in his newly hired bodyguard. This type of BL material is just not my thing, and I usually feel uncomfortable watching them. And based on reviews I've read and the trailers I've seen, I really have no interest in giving interviews, even for this video. As far as I know, Given, this is not. And lastly is Adachi and Shinomura, the big Yuri anime of 2020 and the one we'll be focusing on the most. And we'll be talking about the three main couples and the ultimate third wheel of the anime, Tarumi, starting with the title couple of Adachi and Shinomura.
The two meet each other randomly when trying to avoid class, and as soon as Adachi meets and talks to Shinomura, she starts to have dreams of being intimate with her. Though confused with this at first, Adachi can't deny that she is in love with Shinomura, and she has no way to convey this to Shinomura, but tries in different ways. You got your hanging out after school, you got your holding hands, you got your Christmas date, you got your Valentine's Day, and you got a sleepover in the final episode. And all the while, Adachi slowly but surely manages to get closer to Shinomura, but not in an intimate way because Adachi is too nervous to ask. She asked Shinomura to be his best friend, she asked Shinomura to be sisters, and yes, cultural differences with the meaning of being sisters, blah blah blah. In the last episode, she is so close to telling Shinomura that she loves her, but she just says that she looks lovely instead. So close and yet so far. The biggest positive thing about Adachi's feelings for Shinomura is that Adachi is able to start caring about stuff again. She didn't have any friends before due to her loneliness that may or may not have to do with her strange relationship with her mother, but after meeting Shinomura, she's able to connect with other people, these including Nagafuji and Hino. With Shinomura being so nice and kind to her, Adachi is able to open up and not be so emotionally distant from the world. And more than that, Adachi starts to love herself, which is most important in my opinion. You have to love yourself before you can love someone else. But it isn't always sunshine and rainbows with Adachi's relationship with Shinomura. For example, Adachi gets jealous when Shinomura is hanging out with another girl. Not that Shinomura isn't allowed to hang out with other people, but more in the fact that Adachi feels alone in the world when not with Shinomura, and she's terrified that Shinomura might leave her one day. It also doesn't help that Shinomura is awful at picking up visual and conversational cues. So she doesn't understand Adachi's feelings towards her, so she doesn't actively try to hang out with Shinomura. When Adachi doesn't hang out with Shinomura at the beginning of their second year due to some other girls trying to hang out with her, Shinomura doesn't approach Adachi until Adachi approaches her again. And that was only because Adachi, thanks to some random-ass fortune teller, was able to gain more confidence to slowly get closer to Shinomura. That I can say eventually, not in the episodes we've seen, but eventually, she will confess her feelings towards Shinomura.
But whether Shinomura will accept these feelings, I have no idea. Because I can't pinpoint exactly how Shinomura feels towards Adachi. I know she views her as a close friend and a little sister, which I'm a fan of, but romantically? Intimately? At least right now, no.
Shimamura has a worse time connecting with other people than Adachi does. She's just better at not showing it, which allows her to have friends to hang out with, like Nagafuji and Hino. Unlike with Adachi, I didn't really get where this disconnect with other people came from, but it's what makes Adachi and Shinomura similar. Shimamura repeatedly says that she doesn't stick with things or people for too long, that besides from a few exceptions, everyone else is a blank void to her. That is except for Adachi, who she sees in full color. And despite maybe not knowing Adachi's true feelings, she happily puts up with her. She goes on the dates, holds hands, and does all the things Adachi wants because she does care about her. There's no question about that. The hard part with Shinomura is that if Adachi doesn't continually approach her, she might not have hung out with her again. Evident in the fact that after not being in the same class as Nagafuji and Hino in her second year, she admits to not seeing them that often. Same could be said with Terumi, an old childhood friend that Shinomura almost completely forgot about and had to take the time to remember her properly. It leads to this great sequence where Terumi hangs out with Shinomura again. The two of them are distant with each other and don't talk that much. It's only when she and Terumi put in the extra effort their second time around do they end up connecting more. And I think it's her friendship with Adachi that Shinomura is able to do this more actively. The anime, outside of the romance, is about Adachi and Shinomura trying to be more active in the world and try to go through their lives with happiness. It's hard for them, but they manage to achieve it thanks to each other. Adachi is able to not be alone anymore, and Shinomura is able to give a crap about things.
Now let's get to Terumi, the ultimate third reel, but also my favorite character in the anime, and the one that I think deserves the world.
She shows up about 2/3 of the way for the anime, randomly running into Shinomura at Nagafuji's family shop. She recognizes her instantly, while Shinomura doesn't. But as I mentioned before, the two were friends when they were very, very little. Terumi was a very shy young girl, so Shinomura always helped her out, just making little Terumi crush on Shinomura. And it seems like this crush stayed prevalent when they ran into each other again in high school. And unlike Adachi, perhaps because she's kind of a gyaru, Terumi is more active in achieving a relationship with Shinomura. She gives her her phone number immediately. Terumi gives her a call and the two hang out on the weekend. But again, like I mentioned before, since they hadn't seen each other since they were very, very little, the two are awkward in front of each other, and they look at their phones more than at each other. Terumi notices this and swears that next time she'll be more active. Shinomura doing the same. And their second hangout is more successful. The two talk more and enjoy spending time together. When I read the light novels based where the anime ended, it will be interesting to see if Adachi finds out about Shinomura's friendship with Terumi and what kind of conflict that will bring. And while Shinomura, because she can't read people, doesn't understand Terumi's feelings towards her, she does see many similarities between Adachi and Terumi.
I'm a sucker for a possible love interest being an old childhood friend cliche, and Terumi has a bright and energetic personality that makes me love her. The next couple to talk about is Nagafuji and Hino, who are a little hard to read.
They are childhood friends who hang out all the time and are super close. Nagafuji's family owns a bread shop, while Hino lives in a rich and traditional household, making her do formal things that she's not a fan of. Because of this, Hino prefers staying over at Nagafuji's place. The two are intimate with each other differently in public and in private. Hino likes Nagafuji's big breasts and likes to fondle them, and is always reprehended by Nagafuji. But in private, Nagafuji is more aggressive towards Hino. She loves cuddling with Hino and kissing her on the forehead, always saying that Hino is cute. And Hino always blushes and is super shy whenever Nagafuji does this. In one episode, when the two of them are in a big bath together, Nagafuji puts Hino's hand on her breast, saying that she's allowed to do it once in a while in private, with Hino again being shy and blushing. I find the two's relationship interesting. They definitely do love each other romantically and intimately, but to different degrees, both in public and in private.
I don't think they are in an active relationship just yet, and they still just see each other as friends, but something is definitely there. And the last two characters to talk about is Yashahiro and Shinomura's little sister. Yashahiro as a character is such an enigma to me. I know that she's from the original light novels Offer's previous work, Ground Control to Psycho Electric Girl, but in this work, I don't get her inclusion.
I remember being so confused seeing her in her little spacesuit in the trailer, and that confusion did not change when I first saw the anime. And I think the story doesn't understand the point as well, because only after a few episodes does she take off the spacesuit and reveals to have sparkling blue hair. It's unknown if Yashido is actually an alien like she says, but Shinomura's little sister seems to believe so. But anyway, Yashido became friends with Shinomura and becomes friendly with Shinomura's little sister as a result. The two start to hang out all the time, and little sister enjoys listening to Yashido's ramblings and seeing her magic. And Yashido just enjoys having fun with little sister. Cute moment in the last episode when, at the same time that Adachi and Shinomura are sleeping in bed together, Yashido and little sister does the same, holding hands while sleeping and little sister having a strand of Yashido's hair wrapped around her finger. Because Yashido and little sister are young girls, their friendship isn't romantic or sexual. I do think that there is something there that might evolve, but at their age right now, they are two close friends that love being together. And that's super cute.
One of my problems with Adachi and Shinomura as a whole is that only adapting 4 out of its current 9 volumes as of right now, the anime doesn't fully develop any of these relationships.
Again, Yashido and little sister make sense. They are just two young girls. Nagafuji and Hino imply that there's something more intimate in their friendship, but it's not explored that much. And in Adachi and Shinomura's case, she's achieved things like hugs, holding hands, and sleeping together in bed, but she hasn't admitted her feelings yet towards Shinomura, and Shinomura, as of right now, doesn't feel the same way towards Adachi and hasn't realized her feelings for her. Terumi is also currently pursuing a relationship with Shinomura, Shinomura being oblivious to this as well. And currently, Adachi and Terumi are unaware of each other and their connection to Shinomura.
I'm sure that these relationships are more developed in the following light novels, which I plan on reading, so maybe there will be another season of the anime and we'll see where these relationships go. But as for right now, I like these 3 couples, and Terumi most of all. They are all cute, insightful, and fun to watch to develop. So, that's the end of the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, like and comment on anything you want to say. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. Catch you later.